Welcome back to the podcast. Today we're talking about planning, something most of us do every day, whether we realize it or not. Some people plan everything from their morning routine to their retirement, while others prefer to take life as it comes. So here's a simple question. Why do people plan in the first place?
Planning gives people a sense of control. Life is unpredictable, and having a plan can make us feel more prepared for the future. Whether it's planning a holiday, a career path, or even the week ahead, many people like to have a roadmap rather than simply hoping things will work out.
That's true. I know people who make detailed schedules for almost everything. They set goals, create to-do lists, and plan their weekends weeks in advance. Personally, I admire that level of organization, but I'm not sure I could do it myself. Sometimes I feel that if every minute is planned, there's very little room left for spontaneity.
I'm somewhere in the middle. I like to have a plan, but I also leave room for flexibility. One thing I've learned is that life rarely goes according to plan. Unexpected opportunities appear, circumstances change, and sometimes you simply have to adapt. That's why I think the most successful people are often the ones who can adjust when things don't go exactly as expected.
Exactly. In fact, one reason some people avoid planning is because they've experienced situations where their plans completely fell apart. They spent hours creating the perfect schedule, and then reality had different ideas. A new job opportunity appeared, a family situation changed, or something unexpected happened that forced them to start over.
That's a good point. Some people also believe that excessive planning can become stressful. They put pressure on themselves to follow every step perfectly, and when things don't go according to schedule, they become frustrated. Instead of helping them, the plan becomes a source of anxiety.
So maybe the real challenge isn't creating a plan. Maybe it's learning how to strike a balance between planning ahead and staying flexible. After all, planning is important, but so is being able to think on your feet when circumstances change.
Absolutely. And something I've noticed is that highly organized people often don't just create a plan, they also create a contingency plan. They understand that things can go wrong, so they prepare an alternative option just in case. It's almost like having a backup route when you're driving somewhere unfamiliar.
I like that idea. A contingency plan doesn't mean you're expecting failure. It simply means you're prepared for uncertainty. And let's be honest, uncertainty is part of life.
Exactly. Life has a habit of surprising us. Sometimes a single unexpected event can throw a wrench in the works and completely disrupt weeks or even months of planning. That's why adaptability is such an important skill nowadays. Speaking of nowadays, technology has completely changed the way people plan their lives.
Definitely. Think about it. 20 years ago, people relied on paper calendars, diaries, and handwritten notes. Today, we have digital calendars, reminder apps, project management tools, and even AI assistants helping us stay organized. Technology makes it much easier to keep track of deadlines and manage our time efficiently.
That's true, but technology has also made life more dynamic. Because we're constantly connected, plans can change at the last minute. A quick message, an unexpected email, or a new opportunity can completely reshape our schedule.
Exactly. I think modern life requires people to be more adaptable than ever before. Long-term planning is still important, but the ability to adjust quickly may be just as valuable. Let's talk about parents for a moment. Many parents spend years planning for their children's future. Why do you think that is?
I think most parents genuinely want the best for their children. They think about education, career prospects, financial stability, and personal development. In many cases, they're trying to help their children get a head start in life.
But sometimes children don't share the same vision.
Exactly. That's where things become complicated. Parents may have a carefully thought out plan while their children have completely different goals. One generation might prioritize security and stability, while the other values freedom, creativity, and personal fulfillment.
I think that's one of the most common sources of disagreement in families. Parents often focus on what seems practical, while young people want to follow their passions.
And neither side is necessarily wrong. The challenge is finding a balance between realistic planning and personal ambition.
Here's another interesting question. Why do some people constantly change their plans?
There are several reasons. Sometimes they receive new information. Sometimes their priorities change. And sometimes they discover that their original goal wasn't actually right for them. I don't think changing a plan is always a sign of failure.
I agree. In fact, changing direction can sometimes be a sign of growth. People learn new things about themselves, develop new interests, and discover opportunities they never considered before.
That's true. However, there is a difference between being flexible and constantly moving the goalposts. If people keep changing their objectives every few weeks, it becomes difficult to make meaningful progress because the target never stays the same.
That's a great distinction. Flexibility helps you respond to change. Indecisiveness prevents you from moving forward.
Exactly. And when you look at highly successful people, many of them talk about having a long-term vision. They know where they want to go, even if they don't know exactly how they're going to get there.
That's interesting, because many people assume planning means controlling every detail. But maybe planning is really about direction rather than prediction.
I think so. The future is too uncertain to predict perfectly. What people can do is map out a strategy, identify priorities, and prepare themselves for different possibilities.
And perhaps that's why the best plans aren't set in stone. They provide guidance, but they still allow room for adjustment when circumstances change.
Exactly. A good plan should work for you, not control you. The goal isn't to predict every event in your life. The goal is to put yourself in a position to succeed while remaining open to opportunities you didn't expect.
I really like that idea. Planning and adaptability aren't opposites. In fact, they probably work best together.
I agree. The most effective people often combine both. They prepare for the future, but they also understand that change is inevitable. Instead of resisting change, they learn how to respond to it.
Well, that's probably a good place to end today's discussion. We've talked about why people plan, why some avoid planning, how technology has changed the process, and why flexibility may be just as important as organization.
And perhaps the biggest lesson is that planning isn't about controlling the future. It's about being prepared for it.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you next time.